everybody, to our next installation of Conversations with Kevin. Oh, it's getting darker. Oh, it's getting lighter. All right, there we go. This is brought to you by NKU and SOTA, the School of the Arts. And today we have a special guest, Mike Montgomery. I've admired Mike and all of the things he's been doing for years. And one of the things that he's a Renaissance man, essentially. He's a skateboarder, a writer, an editor, an artist, and also an audio engineer. And so we're here today at Sofa Burn Studios.
Well, Sofa Burn's a record label that has an office in this building, but my recording studio is called Candyland Recording Studio. And we share a complex in Dayton, Kentucky.
Yeah. Thanks. Good to have you with us today,
thanks
Mike.
for having me.
Yeah. So can you tell us what got you interested in audio recording?
Just hearing records when I was really little. Some of the earliest things I would listen to, Beatles records, things like that. And an album I bought when I was like 6 was Def Leppard's Pyromania. And I
Me too.
listening to that that was one where I just really thought they sort of created a world where there was a real sonic vibe. And as a little kid, I remember thinking like, wow, I'm like immersed in a world, just wondering, even at an early age, how they did that. And the Beatles stuff always was like that. Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I remember that record. And those were in my dad's collection, but the Def Leppard one was the first one that I like purchased at a store with my money. But just wondering how they could do that, and then getting into more aggressive music and punk rock and stuff and starting to play guitar, and then just wanting to kind of learn guitar and try to do 2 parts at once. I got a board. Can I get a prop?
Yeah, sure.
I just realized I had.
We got props today.
So the very it's called a 4-track recorder. It means you could record up to 4 tracks of audio on it. If someone's not into recording, you may not know what it is, but basically you put a cassette tape in there. Some people may not even do that. And it basically records 2 tracks of audio on one side and 2 on the other, and thereby uses basically the whole tape. You have your inputs here. You assign what track of the tape you want to record onto. So as I was learning to play guitar, I could play a guitar part and then hear it back and play over top of it or sing over top of it. And so through this method, you could kind of make a song that could have, I didn't have a band, it could have a little drum beat or something, whatever, and so this got me super stoked on that and just really opened up a world of possibilities. And from the very first moment of this, it probably was maybe like 14 when I bought this. I just wanted more and more and more of being able to do this. And that interest ran concurrently and blossomed concurrently with my love of skateboarding and getting more and more into music. And some of the music that I heard that was really just captivated by was from like old skateboard videos and stuff, and just trying to figure out how they made the sounds and how a guy did a certain trick or even the song he was skating to. Just like I wanted all of it.
So you've gone from this to this.
I just never stopped spending money on this stuff. So, and there's still so much that you can have or do but now with, computers, it's just amazing what a person could do on like, GarageBand on your phone or something is like, so much more powerful than what I could even do on a 4-track. I'm not saying better, it's just different. Like this was a lot of money for me back then, or to even have access to this many tracks or this technology at that time was expensive. And now just on our computers, our phones, everyone can sort of like dabble and honestly make a totally killer record with like your phone or your iPad or a computer or something. So
and that's happening in the art world as well. I mean, we all start with pencils and pens, and there's simple programs now like Procreate and some other types of things like that where you can do some pretty amazing artwork with just a few simple tools.
That's something that theme, whether it's art or music, or skateboarding. I'm going to talk about skateboarding and music and art and how they're analogous, probably a lot in this conversation. But if you want to talk about barriers to entry or barriers of entry, for me with skateboarding, some of the first frustrations were, and these can be good or bad. A barrier can lead to creativity because you're forced down a certain avenue. When I would watch videos or look at magazines and see people skateboard, I would think, man, I'm never going to get a chance to skate a ditch like that, or a bowl, or a concrete swimming pool, or a vert ramp. Well, then you're out on the street skating a curb because that's what you have. I didn't get to skate a ramp like I wanted to till I was almost 20, like a vert ramp or something, or, built a mini ramp, but I didn't skate a concrete bowl till probably 21, all those years went by where I just didn't have access to one. Same with music, maybe lack of money is a barrier of entry for someone that wants to record, but you didn't have access to a console or a larger, I'm pointing out, this is a 24-track tape machine back there. That was $44,000 in the 80s when it came out. These consoles were so expensive, when they came out. So just the cost it would take to be able to walk into a room to record your ideas, most people would never get the chance unless a record label footed the bill for it or something, or in skateboarding, if you lived at a place where there was an empty swimming pool, or someone had a ramp that you knew or something. And in art, like things you would want to do in art, well, maybe oil paint's expensive. Maybe like you want to do like a linoleum cup, but you don't have chisels or tools or whatever. I always wanted to do screen printing, but I didn't have a setup. I didn't have a light table. So I ended up building kind of rudimentary versions of that. But yeah, so
you make a way, you find a way, right?
Find a way, yeah. That's another common theme, I think. Anytime I talk to anyone that is involved in music or art or these things, or lives a life with these elements in it, you always find a way to sort of scratch whatever itch is compelling you to want to create something.
Yeah. And you hope that you have that itch is strong enough that you break down those barriers that you're talking about. Like I don't know how to do this, but I want to do it so badly that I'm just going to do it and figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't a word of wisdom, but one thing that took me a long time to realize was if the thought in my mind was I want to live a life in art or music or skateboarding or whatever, and it seems like there's some destination. It took me a long time to realize like my actual life in trying to do the thing, that is the life. If I book a show for my band and I'm making a poster for the show that's 3 months away, well, making the posters is part of the deal of being in a band or making music. It's all part of it when you think about it. Practicing, writing, changing your strings, like gassing up your car. It's all part of the process. So telling myself it's okay to try to enjoy the little things along the way, even though maybe in your mind is something grander that you're building towards a trip, a tour, a record you're going to work on, an art show you've got or something. It's like, how do we how do we
all
enjoy
part of it. It's the
all
life.
part of it.
Yeah.
It's all part of it.
Can you tell us some of your artistic heroes or musical heroes, or just heroes in general? Who are some of those people that you already mentioned? The Beatles.
Oh, musical heroes. Yeah. I mean, I grew up listening to Beatles, Willie Nelson, Simon and Garfunkel, Peter, Paul and Mary. Although I just recently went on a Peter, Paul and Mary deep dive, and I'm like not as jazzed on them now as I was when I was a little kid. Although Pop the Magic Dragon still makes me want to cry every time I hear that. Elton John, tons of classic rock. And then by the time I had a brother, my brother John's a little older than me, so between skateboard videos and magazines and having an older brother, I started to get into like Dead Kennedys. He was into like Exploited, Suicidal Tendencies, the punk band Circle Jerks, which now has become off, or keep more for Black Flag. I found Black Flag through that. I found Minor Threat, Fugazi, all these kind of bands, and then I started getting into like Sonic Youth. I didn't really get into playing music when I was listening to that stuff. I really liked it, but I didn't think I could play it or something. I don't know. But the thing that really made me want to play guitar was I would say Dinosaur Jr. and Firehose. That was the first time where I was like, oh, the guitar.
Yeah,
Wow, okay, this sounds,
right.
you know, I mean, just sounded
Yeah.
like, in particular, the Santa Cruz Speed Freaks video, Mike Fallaley has the closing part, and the Dinosaur Jr. song Freak Scene is the music there. And the guitar is as blistering and raw as like the skating is. And that was a moment where it was like they were like equivalent and inseparable and like pushing each other kind of.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I thought, wow, music is like just as raw as like street skating or something.
Yeah, the form was feeding the content. Both the music was raw, the skating was raw. Together, they're showing this. They're showing Mike V doing these tricks, and it's like everything. Like it's not maybe clean and precise and gentle and technical. It's all just like
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It was really
Yeah.
powerful, really
Mhm.
aggressive, really powerful.
Mhm.
There's a beauty to it, and there's melody both in that song and in that skating. There's a synergy, but there's a rawness that was really visceral. And I was like, I mean, I still could watch that part and feel
Yeah.
the same.
And it's like two masters, you know. Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. Some people think of him as like a master at the guitar, and Mike V is a master at skating, and then you kind of like put the two together. It's
Yeah, if we wanted to sort of like continue waxing on that idea, we could go even deeper because a lot of people would say that the Dinosaur Jr. thing, that his guitar playing was sort of a, if you say punk, sort of like brushed off power rock and classic rock or, you know, things like that. Like when Jay Mascis came in, he was soloing. He was like a guitar hero for the post-punk indie rock scene. And a lot of people credit him as like ushering back in the idea that the guitar can be celebrated in a sort of heroic way, like a grand solo, like epic long solo. So if you think he sort of ushered in a new era, Mike V also through street skating was one of the pioneers of like saying there's a change of guard from the vert and pool and slalom skaters to like to street skating.
Yeah.
And there's something about both of those things. Not that I would ever be Mike V or ever be Jay Mascis, but something signaled to me that I was invited to join them and play along. I felt really drawn in and thought, I want to skate, I want to play guitar. This is what I want to be a part of. Whereas I could listen to classic. I can listen to Def Leppard and never think I want to play that kind of music. It's too foreign or alien or too made and then delivered to me. It's too produced or something. Even though it's magical, it's almost unreal to me because I feel like it's inaccessible in the sense that I could never do that or make that or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the same with certain types of skateboarding I would see. I would think I've never even seen a ramp. How am I going to do a 540 or something? It's magical, but it also seems totally inaccessible. And there's a barrier of entry kind of there. But yeah, something about this Summer's video part.
Yeah.
The skaters, the music, I just like, dude, this is me, man.
Yeah, there's a and I think that like transcends art in so many ways, or like you need to find your hero, and like sometimes you think, yeah, I'm kind of doing that myself. So in some of my art classes, I have the students, it's called individual investigation. Who's your daddy? And so you look at whatever artwork that inspires you, and you try to make work that's very similar. Like I want to don the hat or the painter's cap of so and so, and I want to make a painting that looks kind of like that. You know, you might not be able to do a 540 on a ramp, but like you could see Mike V running down the street and then jumping on his board, which he does, I think, in one of the Powell videos. And to this day, when I start to run and drop my board, and this has been 30, 40 years, like I'm like, kind of like Mike V, like, but not, I'm nowhere near as good as Mike V. But anyway, it's like you sometimes kind of see yourself in their shoes for just a little bit, or you try to be like that. And I think that elevates your game. whatever it is, drawing, painting, guitar playing, skateboarding. Yeah.
It's so interesting when you talk about, you know, forefathers or daddies or just the lineage of inspiration. And there's another super legendary skateboarder named Stacy Peralta who was was part of this company called Power Peralta, a skateboard company. And he was sort of a guy that made a bunch of these early videos with Mike Vallely, who we're still talking about. And there was just a post where Stacy Peralta had a shot of him doing a trick, and he talked about how he was doing an aerial maneuver and his hand was over his knee, and they were emulating the great surfers of the time because they thought if you're going to do a frontside aerial, it needs to look like how you would be tucked on a wave. And then a vert skater that came after Stacy Peralta commented and said, "We were just emulating you when we just thought, man, if it doesn't have style, it's nothing." So he's thinking, man, I'm just emulating this guy who's so stylish. And the next guy, the next generation for him was like, we were just looking up to you.
Yeah.
It's like that with a lot, with bands, with art, with writing, with everything. You're looking to someone for inspiration. And then we talked before we started rolling. The real trick is to be inspired, but not so overwhelmed that you're crippled with doubt that you don't even start because you think I'll never, and this is a theme that runs through my life. I look at things that I'm stoked on and I think, well, I just know, like, I'll never sing like that. I'll never write like that. Just today, I gave a writing assignment to someone who's a 20 times better writer than me. Because I know I'd rather read what he's going to write about this thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to do these things, even though I know I'm never going to be as good as I want to be at making records. I'm never going to be as good at fixing tape machines as some of my buddies are. I'm never going to be as good at skateboarding as like my friends and heroes are. I'm just not, but I still want to do it. So you guys got to be a way to find your place in these things you want to do and just know I'm going to spend my whole life enjoying these things and try to celebrate little moments without being down on myself every time I fall short, which is like a lot.
Oh, come on,
all
man.
the time.
That's not
But
true.
it pushes you.
You know what I mean? So those are some inspirational things to think about. Do you have any quotes, any inspirational quotes or ideas that like motivate you and how you live your life?
I thought about that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just picturing that little cat that hang in there. He just like
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, so my brother was in town. He ran like this. I get inspired by him a lot. We just grew up together, kind of doing the same stuff, man, and just always supportive of each other. But he was in town to run a 100-mile foot race, which to me is like my knees are so effed. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I could get a mile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without doubling over, which is an excuse, whatever. And one of his buddies, Dan, it was like his pace runner for part of it. He just had a shirt that said like, "No one cares, work harder," And one of those kind of things, like nobody wants to hear like why you didn't do something. And I don't know what the shirt was, if it was for I don't know, a tool company or just a slogan or something, but it's kind of true. Like people want to celebrate victories and times when you do well more than sit and commiserate about why you're not good at something or what all the problems are or whatever.
Yeah.
Because everyone has those things and self-doubt or real life problems, whatever.
Yeah. So, what would you like people to know about your art, your music, your skateboarding, or what do you think you do for the world?
I keep trying. Yeah. I just keep trying. I want to be of use to people and of service to people in this world, in the music world. I feel like I can really be of use to helping someone realize a creative idea that they had. Before they came in, maybe a song didn't exist in the world. And by the time we're done, it is in the world. So that's a really big thing to be allowed. It's like an honor that someone lets me into that world to help them sort of pull this idea out of nothing, because I still still in awe of like, where do ideas even come from? Whether it's a painting or whether it's a song, like all of a sudden someone just starts doing something. And when they say they're done, there's something to look at or listen to. It's still like incredible. So in this world, in the studio world, I've been doing it since the 90s. I really feel like I can competently and capably help someone realize whatever it is they're going for.
Mhm.
I feel of use to a lot of people in that way. So I would like to continue doing that. I really love doing it. I love working on mixes. I love when a band comes in and starts recording for the first time. They come back in the room and can hear playback, and like that might be the first time where they've like actually heard the thing they've been working on,
Yeah.
you know, in the jam room for so long, and to really hear it back and see some of it, whoa,
Yeah.
it's coming together.
And it's like, that's your gift to them.
Yeah.
And then when you hear it, it's like their gift to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people are like, thanks. I'm like, dude, thank you for letting me. There's a lot of vulnerability and trust at stake, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, I really like appreciate and respect the people.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, that they want to come in and a lot of people, I'm proud of the space that people say like, it feels comfortable, it feels safe, it feels like inspiring. It's not sterile. It's like you want to come in and you feel like you're welcome here and you can create something and it's a safe place to sing a vocal or share an idea. So that's pretty cool that so I just was kind of making it for my own bands and stuff. Like the whole studio came from me just wanting to be able to record our own songs and just be like, well, I guess we'll have to build a place.
Yeah.
Same with never having a ramp. It's like, I guess I better build a ramp, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have one, so
Yeah.
next thing you know, I'm like,
so let's talk
guess I
about
need to
yeah.
figure out
We can talk about this. Like, I don't play music, but I can tell that this is an environment, as you mentioned, people feel comfortable. Right behind us over here, well, I guess behind us over there is where the musicians play. But can you talk about the environment like that you like to work in, whether it's making or recording music or playing music or even making artwork with your son? Like, what makes the environment, like what are you into for those environments that like you
when it's an environment where there's a communion with another human, then I mean, this is a pretty curated space, even though it might just look like a catch-all, which it kind of is for my different interests, which is art, music, and skateboarding. Now I've got my friends' artwork hanging up. I've got all the like detritus of all these sort of projects. Board tape is on all the walls. If you go down the hallways, records I've made with my friends are hanging everywhere. Concert posters. I have a whole. We'll go to the back hallway. I have like all my brother and my old skateboards from when we were kids, like hanging on the back wall. And eventually, I've got boards that were gifted to me and stuff like that. And so, just the things that I'm excited about. I just want to like see them all the time and just like open the door and walk in and be like, yeah, that's cool art. I'm just inspired. You know what I mean? So when I'm working, I just want to be in a place that feels invigorating and feels like, you know, I'm not going to work for some company somewhere where they have to hang a picture of a cat and give me a motivational slogan just so I'll just like get back to my desk and continue. It's like, this is all the shit of my life is motivating me, you know?
Yeah.
So just being able to surround yourself with the things you're passionate about, I think makes a safe place where you want to share with somebody. And if I'm working with my son, like just anywhere at the table, at the house, or he'll come down here and he likes to come here and plug in microphones and effect pedals and make crazy sounds and just play. Really, it's all play, I guess, you know. Skateboarding is play, art is play, making music is playing, I guess it's in the title, but yeah, just whimsical, childlike, sometimes childish, fearless play. I guess that's what I want life to be.
Right, yeah. And then you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Well, yeah, that is.
I mean, like that's
but I feel like that, man. I don't. if it's a session I have to do, I mean, sometimes if you have to get up early or stay late, yes, it's taxing physically, mentally, but I don't ever begrudge having to go to work because it's honestly like, I can't even believe that people hire me to do this stuff because it's so fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
man, if I won the lottery, I would just do this, but just for free. You know,
Yeah.
I would just be like, okay, let's make a record.
I
It's
know.
free, you
Like,
know?
and I think that's one of the things that I just hope people can find, even if they might not do art, maybe the people that are watching this video, and maybe you don't play music either, but I'm all about whatever whatever makes your heart sing, whatever you really find makes your life better, and you can like do something that enriches your life, like pursue it and you will have a good life.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
it'll be easy. You know, I feel like
Mhm.
people have asked me a lot, like, how do you do this? Is it a career? Do you make much money? All that kind of stuff. And I feel like trying to build a life that you sort of control all these parameters of could be a lot harder than getting a job somewhere where certain things are part of the package of, you know, the salary or the whatever.
Mhm.
There's here's the structure, it's this hours, this many per week, these are the days off, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Whereas my life is like anything but structured in that way.
Yeah.
So you might work
Mhm.
from morning to night, many days in a row. If the band comes to town, it might be a week-long set. You know what I mean? Just don't, it's different. It can be scary sometimes. So there's not that same safety as there is in like, well, I would say safety, maybe that's the wrong word because is there any job that's safe these days? Is there any corporation like there used to be of parents or grandparents generations where you can go and work for the big guy and you know you can put in 40
Mhm.
years or something. But if you don't want to do that and you want to do something else, you may work 5 times as hard trying to figure out how you're going to do the thing that you're doing. But
Yeah.
if you can tell yourself it's an exciting journey that you're on. And like you said, if it's something that makes your heart sing, then it will be fulfilling and it will be worth it.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite things? I mean, we already know you've been sharing with us skateboarding and your love of music and um, other things that you want to share with the world in terms of your favorite things.
Uh, Things like,
Anything like,
yeah, I like traveling. I like working with people. I like books. I like watching movies. I like hanging out with my wife and my son and watching. He's almost 5, so just watching him sort of, you know, it's like I get a redo on a lot of stuff because you can watch him learn everything is new and exciting to him. So just seeing things through his eyes, you know, even if we come down here and I've plugged in a microphone like 100,000 times and he to show him how to do it and he has an aha moment or he plugs it in or watching him like hear his voice amplified for the first time. You know what I mean? And then like turns on like a delay pedal and then it's just like
uh,
it's re-exciting for me,
Yeah.
reinvigorating, I guess. It's like, oh yeah, man, it's got a whole world, everything's new.
yeah,
So yeah, just
that's awesome.
yeah, getting to show him kind of like showing someone the world makes you take stock of like, I've just been cruising through life thinking like, I don't even know if I've learned anything. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because there's so much to learn and do. I'm just constantly like, oh, I didn't know that, didn't know
Right.
that. But then when you have like a child that you're responsible for sort of like
Mhm.
helping, you know, teaching, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
showing them things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what is of interest? What is of value? What do I want to impart on this person? So that's pretty interesting.
It's yeah, every day, like
Well, I
you're,
mean, you're a professor, so kind of the same thing, you know, you're teaching. I guess teaching is the thing.
yeah.
Teaching what you know is pretty cool.
Mhm.
People call and ask sometimes, even if it's, hey, I'm trying to do a session, I can't get my thing. I could say, there's a drop down menu, click this button. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
just
When I
helping
know
out,
something
like,
that I can help someone
right.
with, it's
Mhm.
I feel excited that I was
Mhm.
of use to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, because even if I feel like my
Mhm.
particular interest or passions are so niche or narrow, they are of extreme use to some people. So in those instances, like, oh, you need help with a patch bay? I can do that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of cool to,
Cool.
yeah, to be helpful to somebody.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I'm sure you'd like to be known for. Other things that, you know, you hope people know Mike Montgomery for.
Are you asking me what I hope so?
Yeah,
someone-
like what you would hope people
just maybe if we crossed paths that I hopefully I was kind and, you know, was made the day better somehow or something, or
Yeah.
we had a good exchange or
Mhm.
yeah, just I don't, yeah, I just want to be like someone that people thought was a kind person and
Mhm.
you know, have maybe a good memory of versus like,
Mhm.
oh, that freaking guy. I
Yeah.
don't want to be that guy
Uh-huh.
though, like cantankerous or
Yeah.
contentious or
Mhm.
polarizing, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna pull up a few of your artworks that you
oh,
worked
cool.
on with your son.
Colin.
Yeah, with Colin. And hey everybody, I've pulled up one of Mike's collaborations with his son that they had in a recent art gallery in North Carolina. Mike, could you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with your son and talk about your, I guess, drawing or painting? I'm not sure what you want to classify it as.
Yeah, this piece here looks like I use the word piece loosely. This image here, I think this is some pen, maybe some marker, and some watercolor. And anything that we do together is typically just whatever's laying around. And the stuff that was in this gallery show is from when he was about 2 till, like 4 years old. And so I can notice his sort of the change or the progression either in materials or his ability to make shapes or like make a face or make hands or a body, what used to just be kind of random shapes that then he would pass to me and I would interpret and turn into something. um, he can now like draw a guy, or he'll say he's drawing schematics, to build something. He'll draw like a temple or a pyramid, then go build it out of pillows or something. But in a case like this, I think this started with kind of a blobby looking shape. And he said, "What do you think of this guy?" And there was that arm kind of thing going up over. And I thought, well, it looks like he's like scratching his head. So then he said, "Okay." I said, "If I just make a finger, then we'll have a guy." So I did that. And then he had all these other lines coming out of him. So we turned those into hands. And then he said, "Make him wearing jean shorts." So we put him in shorts, you know, but a lot of it was his, like the pink thing that is the eye, that was already there. I just like made it a more discernible eye. So that's how our collaborations would work. Either I'd start something, he would jump on my piece of paper, or vice versa. And sometimes he would just want to color what I did, or he'll want to start adding on something I already did, or add guys to it, or a background or something. But we would just kind of pass our pieces of art back and forth to each other. That's
Yeah.
what the process has been.
That's great. And then I have another one for us to take a look at. If I can move it to the next slide, let's see. We'll move it. Let's see. Why can't I move it down? Let's see. Let's see if this does it. There we go. Can you see that one?
I can see it, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about how this one started and how it ended up.
Yeah, same thing. So I think it started with just that purple stuff on the page. This was probably a piece of paper that had been underneath something else we were doing. I don't know if you can see the yellow lines on the top, the black line, and the gray that I'll say the gray is in like the sky, and the purple that's in the middle. And then he drew kind of a blobby thing around it, and it had that ring which I thought looked like a mouth. And then next thing you know, we'd put eyes on it, and that sort of triangular thing in the middle. I thought, well, he just colored it like dark red and black. And I don't know if he was making a shark. All of a sudden, it was a guy on a beach, and there was an ocean, and so there was something in the middle the brown thing, and I just kind of thought, well, it kind of looks like a big weird guy holding a surfboard or something. And yeah, that was a full kind of collab where we were working on it at the same time. Then he said, give him some hair, so he's got that weird hair on the top,
Mhm.
and you know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Could you?
And I do remember we switched. We got a new set of markers that had different colors, so that opened a whole new color palette for us. So that's why there's like the bright orange and the bright yellow and
Mhm.
stuff like
And,
that. So
and
yeah,
I think it's really beautiful how you guys have worked on each other's pieces, and you shared with me how that kind of went. Could you share with our viewers um, like what's precious for him and what's precious for you, and how do you go about negotiating what's
yeah,
is saved and what's altered?
yeah. So as far as negotiating, that's a tough one. I try to do anything that honors what we're doing and doesn't, it's all supposed to be fun. So I can find myself, and I notice in him, if you're working on a piece and I think it's going in a certain direction, sometimes it's hard to stop. This could be anything in any project in life. It's hard for me if I think I want to draw a certain thing and I'm like, oh, this is actually like, I'm surprising myself. It's turning out good for what I think is good for my own abilities. And I want to see it through. If he wants to jump in and start doing something, sometimes I have an initial reluctance of like, oh, what if he just pours paint all over the whole thing and I wanted to, you know what I mean? Something like that. And then sometimes he'll be working on something and I'll say, oh, that's really cool. Can I add to that? And sometimes he'll say no. Sometimes he'll say, draw your own thing or whatever. And then I might start drawing my own thing. And then he wants to jump over and work on my page. But what I have found is that oftentimes if I'm initially reluctant to, I think maybe he's going to use a color I wouldn't use or draw a squiggle where I wouldn't have. It almost always takes whatever I thought I was doing in a cooler, more free, more fearless direction than what I would have done if I just worked in the way I know how to work, which I'm an untrained artist. I just doodle and I draw, and there's a whole bio I had to write for the Peel Gallery show, but my relationship with art has been out of love and admiration, but in practicality, out of necessity for musical projects I've done or whatever. You needed a poster, you needed a record cover, you needed a T-shirt, things like that. When I actually sat down to make what I would call art that was going to become something, it was out of a need where we need a doodle or we need an image or whatever. And the whole journey with my son, Colin, has just been like, what's precious is if he says, can you draw a pumpkin? I can draw a pumpkin. And to have it materialize out of nothing for a little kid, I think is like, oh my God, you just drew a tree. You just drew a guy. You just drew a purse. You just made a shoe. Everything is magical when it's a blank piece of paper and you just make something appear like you've conjured it out of nothing. And so I remember being a little kid and my dad drawing an apple when I was really little. And I just thought, how does he know how to do that? You know, it's kind of mind blowing. So now to watch him get, from age 2 to 4, really like now he could like sit down and draw a scarecrow or a castle or a whatever, has a more of a command of that connection between what he thinks and his actual hand and putting it on paper. He can actually do it. And now he might say like, okay, I've got all these guys. Can you like make him have a funny face or a scary face or
Mhm.
he might involve
That,
me.
yeah.
Watching the whole process, it's like reminded me of what it was like to very initially learn how to draw like anything.
Mhm.
It's really
Yeah.
is like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think the way that you talked about it, it's beautiful, and I love that. Um, does the gallery, and could you talk a little bit about having that gallery show? And the galleries in North Carolina, if you could name the gallery and if they still have some of these images for sale, or how'd that go?
Yes. Yeah, the gallery is called Peel Gallery, like an orange peel, Peel, and it's in Carborough, North Carolina, which is essentially Chapel Hill. Um, and it's just a really cool place. And it came about initially, my band R Ring, our drummer Laura King lives in Chapel Hill, and we had considered doing like an album release show or project at this gallery. And in the process of talking to the owner slash curator, Lindsay, I thought, well, instead of just a show, what if we put up like, and if I told you all this, Kevin, I'm sorry, but I started thinking about album artwork and how a lot of people, if they just pick up a record, you just see the final image, but you don't see any of the process. So I thought, well, if you're going to put a album in a gallery, you could basically walk a person through the decision making process that someone goes through to make anything, a record, a painting, whatever. So all of the choices that went into what ended up being the final album artwork, I thought might be interesting to see broken apart into the very initial seedling idea to rough sketches to photo, whatever, to the final album. So we had this whole thing like, what would be interesting for a person? And we talked about this forever. And then with my bandmate Kelly and Laura's touring schedules in my life, it was going to not work that we could all be there to do it. And so in my phone call to Lindsay to sort of apologize for getting all these ideas cooking and then backing out of it, I just said, hey, if you ever want a gallery show full of a bunch of me and my son's doodles, let me know. I was totally joking because I have never done this, you know. And she said, yeah, let me see them. And so I just gave her filled a Dropbox folder full of like 100 little things that we've made over the last couple of years. And she was into it. So that's how it came about. But then I instantly started feeling like a fraud and an imposter, and like how how am I moonlighting into the art world all of a sudden? Never really supposed. None of this was created with the intention to be seen outside of our house. You know, everything was just taped all over all of the walls everywhere in the house, just to have color and life and energy and playfulness in there. So to actually do the show, I had to get out like a, but you know, I mean, I was just scotch taping. I had to get out like a butter knife and carefully try to peel all of our pictures off the walls to go do the show. And then it's, you know, I started thinking about things in a different way. Like, not like we're doing something different now, but I started thinking it like made me think about the durability of things, or hey, what am I going to do in a year if he doesn't want these hanging up? I don't want to throw them away. You know what I mean? It started to make me think like, well, maybe we should put these on like decent paper. So if he wants to see them in 30 years, they will have survived or something. So, you know, it's not like we've changed and we're creating art for like the high art world, but I do look at it now when we do sit down, feels like maybe I should be a more responsible steward of the materials and of saving them and not just crumpling them in a drawer or scotch taping them. You know, maybe put the date on the back so I remember how old he was when he did a certain thing or something. And
Yeah, I mean, that talks a lot about being a parent and sort of fostering this love of making art and especially being in the moment, because there's a big difference from just making artwork to make artwork, and there's a purity and a sanctity to that versus I'm making art for an art show.
yes,
And I think that that really it comes across that these are sort of special moments, and you were in the moment with your son Colin when you were making these, and that's really hard to recreate if you were going to make a artist show. And I think
yes,
that there's a difference between making art for an art show, which is essentially kind of a job, and then making art because you just need to, and that's important.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's an interesting way to look at it. And I've always made art because I needed to, never thinking anyone was ever gonna see it, and always and still currently feeling like nothing that I make is actually worth putting on display in a public arena like a gallery or something, you know. It is really weird to think that it even happened. But now that it happened, like other people have, we've had some offers to do other things here and there, you know, which is, it's really hard to not think about that, to look at something that we made and think, gosh, would anyone want to look at this? Or would someone want to look at that? You know, if I bombarded Lindsay from Peel with 160 images, some things that I really liked, she like didn't make the hit list of the things, you know, she whittled it down to 60 and from there down to whatever. And sometimes I would think like, why does he want to hang that up? That's, you know, that we did that one in 10 minutes or something, you know, this other one that took an hour is way cool or whatever it is, you know. And then I started to think like, well, maybe what I like about it is uniquely uh my own experience from having made it. And it maybe doesn't have to have anything to do with what someone else might be thinking when they
Yeah.
look at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard to make art and not have the it's not like we've had like raving wild success, but even to get to do something fun that I feel like is dipping your toe in like the real art world kind of, because it's, you know, it's a real gallery that makes its money off of selling artwork. So it's crazy to even have gotten to do it, you know what I mean? And it's hard not to have that in my mind when I now go to draw something. I think like, oh, this is no good. This isn't gallery quality, you know. Even if we're drawing something dumb, if he's like draw a butt on that guy, I'm like, this isn't gallery quality poop. This is just like normal looking poop. You know, it's hard to get the idea out of my mind, you know.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that that was a great sort of description of how everything went down with this, and just the experience of making art and eventually finding its way into the gallery. I want to know, along the way, are there some teachers that have mentored you, whether it's in the audio world, in audio engineering, musical world, writing, uh, who are some of your uh, teachers that you'd like to thank?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So it would be this guy Jim Turner was the first guy to hire me at a recording studio, and he was the engineer on my band at the time. We were like 16 or something and went in to make an album, and he was the guy at the, I don't know if you can see like the mixing board and stuff, but he was sitting at like a big thing like this in like a real studio, and I just thought it was magical and amazing. And that was the first person that ever made me even consider the possibility that you could grow up and have a job or a career or a life in music, and that I could maybe even follow a path to learn how to do that stuff and maybe do it myself one day. So he's been super supportive, and I've known him for a long time. One of the first bands, I used to do a lot of live sound engineering. Dan McCabe that ran Sudsy Malone's, he would hire me to run sound for like big shows that he would have there. And he just kind of trusted that I would, you know, handle it. So he always just like gave me opportunities. Vicky Cunningham that booked at Top Cat, she hired me to do sound there. So getting to run the shows there was awesome. And so a lot of people that I've worked with over the years like that just you know, I feel like in the world of art and music, there's in or even writing, you know, there's never been something where someone said, let me see your degree, let me see your qualifications. Like literally they just said, can you do this or not? And then all of a sudden you're in the position where you need to either do the thing or fail in the spot in real time. And so that people just extend that trust and hire you has been awesome. So all these people that I learned from have been my peers, and people like Morella Raleigh. She runs the Southgate House in Newport, but we did a music scene together. So just her, you know, trusting that I would be someone she would want to write with and put out a little zine. And then from that zine, I got a job as an editor at a skateboard magazine. So like the publisher there, this guy, Christian Strike, just, you know, I went in for an interview and I said, man, you might as well not interview anyone else. Like whatever it takes, I'm doing this job. I love skateboarding. I love music. and I'm going to honor the position, and I'm going to write about, you know what I mean? And he was just like, do you have any previous experience? And I said, no, but I just know I can do it. You know what I mean? I know I can do it. I have this music scene. I like writing, but above all of that, beyond all that, this is what I want to do. And I just willed myself into the position. It was just a wild, like, amazing ride. So yeah, you're just doing the thing you want to do without ever wavering, and you just kind of figure it out. I work a lot for Kim and Kelly Deal and their band, The Breeders. And so getting that job, their tour manager or their managers called and said, can you, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's not like they said, where's your referral or where's your list of accomplishments? They're just like, can you do this? So yeah, they've taken me all around the world, like many times, just trusting that I will do the thing. So ton of respect for them for just giving me a chance and trusting me. And pretty much every single band I ever work with that comes into the studio or hires me to run live sound, I feel just as grateful that they hire me as they feel like that I'm working on their project. Like, I'm learning from them every time. I learn something every day. It's not like I'm at the top of the mountain and I figured it all out. I mean, it's a journey, and I'm just like, the people in today, like, they just trusted that when they showed up, the microphones would work and I would hit the red button at the right time, and I was just stoked that they called and wanted to come down. And it's like amazing, like, world-class concert pianist. It's just like cool, who you get to hang out with and be around and work with and learn with, just by being willing to show up and be committed to your craft and your passion, and just being like committed and present. It's been like the key to my whole life. Show up, do what you say you're going to do. So yeah, who do I want to thank? I want to thank every person that trusts me when I say I'm going to be there and I can do this thing.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of them.
Cool. Yeah. That's great. Any other shout outs you have to anybody? For
My family, my wife Lauren, and my son Colin, just for my interests, or I don't know, obscure or weird.
Letting you pursue these things, which it's not like all the things you just said. It's like you have confidence in yourself, and you will make a way. You will find a way to make it work. And there's a lot of trust that goes into that from your family and friends. Like, oh, like, he's got to do it now. And as an artist, whether it's a painter, a musician, or an audio technician, it's like you hope for those people to trust that you will figure it out. And that's a blessing.
Yeah, I think so. When I think the people closest to me, I can't really imagine living any kind of a different life or doing any other things than what I already am, like, try to do every day. And the people closest to me, I would say, probably can't picture me doing anything else either. They just think, yeah, this is you kind of thing. So what I'm interested in, which is, my passions, are my job and my different types of work. And so it just kind of is I guess it's just, I just do the same things every day, somehow talk about skateboarding or touch my skateboard in my garage, or it's on my feet somehow every day, or I'm talking about skateboarding or looking at it. I'm looking at or playing my guitar, or I'm working on a song or a mix, or I'm drawing or doing something with my son or whatever. Somehow those touchstones, which are my interests, art, music, skateboarding, I somehow can't help but trip over them at some point every single day in some way or another. Even when we're out at dinner last night and I'm not thinking about them, and a Pixies song comes on the radio at the restaurant, I'm just like, well, there's Kim singing to me over the radio, at the restaurant. So even when you try to get away from it, it's like, it's just, I mean, it's a blessing. I feel like I've filled my life with super rad stuff, and I'm happy to see the little, like, markers of the path at all times.
Well said, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me talk.